at the College Football Hall of Fame, downtown Atlanta, right next to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Rob Brown, we're going to be joined by Jimmy Hodge up in Chicago. Billy Roberts, who lives here in Atlanta, going to be with us. Hopefully Gordon Ford had a little change of plans here at the last minute. They closed the building here promptly at 5 p.m. Eastern. That is 4 p.m. Central. So, again, about a 50-minute version of the Sidelines Sunday afternoon wrap-up show. Look, man, I'm behind me looking at the College Hall of Fame. This place is really cool. There's a lot going on in downtown Atlanta today. They got the NBA All-Star game next door in Phillips Arena. Billy, that traffic out there. And traffic on, Peachtree yesterday up there at Lenox and Phipps in Atlanta was crazy. This NBA All-Star game, in the virus and all that notwithstanding, there are people in here everywhere. It's like the Super Bowl, but a lot going on. And Jimmy, let's get right to it. College basketball, SEC, really nothing to decide in terms of who the champion's going to be. Alabama, it finished up at 16-2, only had the 2 losses during the season, at home to Missouri and on the road late to Arkansas. And what is Arkansas has won? Is it 8 in a row or 11 in a row if you're counting the non-conference games? But anyway, that's one of the hotter teams in the country. And then you look around, LSU 11-6, Tennessee at 10-7, Florida 9-7, Ole Miss 10-8, Missouri 8-8, Kentucky at 8-9. Go down here, Mississippi State 8-10, Georgia and Auburn 7-11, South Carolina 4-12, A&M at 2-8. They played fewer games than anybody, a total of 17 overall, and Vanderbilt 3-13, 23 games overall. And again, we were talking about that Memphis-Houston game just now at the end. You call it a heartbreaker, but does that surprise you? And Jimmy, we always talk about it. And Mitch Davis, hopefully we'll have him back on, obviously, on some stuff during the week. But does it surprise you the way Memphis loses the games that they lose? They've certainly got talent. I don't know if they've got a team of 5 elite talent level players, but what do you think about the coaching job of Penny Hardaway that he's done in his 3rd year?
Well, it's one of those situations where, he 3 years ago he's coaching high school basketball, and or 4 years. I'm trying to keep track. The years go by pretty quickly, but anyway, there's no question that he's able to recruit and get elite talent, and I think they definitely hit a bump last year over the Wiseman situation. Mm-hmm. He only played maybe 10 games, I guess. Yeah. And I think he's in one of those situations where these veteran coaches have that fine line between recruiting players that are very talented, they're athletic, and they are going to probably be NBA players. You know who the very elite players are, so you have to make that determination on how they're going to fit in, to the current roster on your program. And also, you got the academic part of it. You have to go to classes, and a lot of these one-and-done players, you have to wonder if there's any interest at all on that side of it. And the Wiseman thing, I mean, it really created a problem, I think, with what's wrong with the one-and-done. I personally am in favor of just having players, if they want to go directly into the NBA draft from high school, let them do so. Let them go to the D League, the G League, whatever the developmental league setup the NBA has now, and just have guys in college that absolutely have interest in going to college. And it's also going to help these coaches know how long they're going to have these players for.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to build a team not knowing who's coming back, who you can count on, and with the transfer portal, with guys opting out / quitting on you, It's a living hell for a lot of the coaches right now. In fact, all of them really.
So with that being said, he's obviously got a very athletic group of players, but trying to get them to play as a cohesive unit is is always an issue, and that comes from experience, finding guys that are going to fit into your system, and also that can make that adjustment uh, in college, realizing that, hey, everybody you go up against now is going to be as good as you are. And you have to get used to that, type of competition you're going to face. But getting to today's game, I thought they, really played hard, intense basketball against Houston. Neither team played well. From an execution standpoint. And a big part of that was the fact the game was so physical. It was so intense, very tough game to officiate. And when you have a real physical game like that and there was a little bit too much talking back and forth for my liking, but again, you're going to have that sometimes. So it was, just almost a football version of basketball. I mean, they were just really banging out there. A lot of contact every time the ball went in low or somebody tried to drive. And, Memphis played toe to toe with them. I mean, I don't know what this loss does to them from an NCAA tournament position. I mean, they're not listed in, the first four out or second four out or anything like this. So they have to, it appears, to win the conference tournament, and that's going to be a tough slot.
Well, Jimmy, look, right now, the SEC tournament's going to kick off. All the big, there've been a few of the conference tournaments that have already been played. How many teams in the SEC, looking at the standings right now, we know 5 teams, maybe 6. Well, that's what we're projecting. From the SEC are going to get into the NCAA tournament. Do you still agree with that number? And did anybody in the last couple of games that picked up wins that was struggling come forward as a candidate that you think will, provided they win at least 2 games in the SEC tournament, get an NCAA bid?
Well, I think Ole Miss definitely needs to win a couple. If they would be able to do that, they would be in for sure. They have to win at least one, and they could be on the edge. I think as far as everybody else goes, I think you're looking at obviously Arkansas, Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, Florida, and then I think that next team, whether they can get in or not, I don't know if I mentioned Missouri. I'm sure they'll be in, but Ole Miss is the one team right now that I think is, on the edge that definitely has to win 1 or 2.
Yeah, and you know what? Because of that, I think Ole Miss will be dangerous in the SEC tournament, knowing they've got to get a couple of wins. They're sitting there with 10 right now, and 2 more wins would give them 12 for the year, and I believe that would get them into the NCAA tournament, considering they played a tough schedule. Like, everybody's having to deal with the same mess. It's a huge, Grunch burger sandwich is what I like to say about this whole virus and the stopping and the starting, the pausing, and games being canceled or postponed, whatever. But it's a huge Grunch burger sandwich, and we've all got to take a bite. And if you're not willing to adapt in a hurry, you're going to struggle. And it happened in football. It's happening certainly in basketball. You're already seeing it happening college baseball and all of the sports in general. So, that's something that, this generation, they're called soft. Well, these kids are adapting, and the universities, surprisingly, again, we keep talking about Michigan has conducted almost 68,000 tests on the virus since school started back in August, and they've had fewer than 400 positive cases, which is fortunate. And look, the SEC tournament, it looks like Alabama. I was listening to one of the guys on the Alabama Basketball Network, Chris Stewart, saying that when they go to the SEC tournament, they might just be going straight from there up to Indianapolis. So they could be gone for a long time. And I mean, if you make it to the Final Four, which will be the first Monday in April, you could be leaving town, let's say Monday, March 8th, Tuesday, March 9th, and not back until, golly, you're talking, April 6th or 7th. But we got Zoom, we got distance learning. So, hey, we're adapting on the fly, aren't we, Jimmy? It's absolutely is amazing. And I know Mitch Davis of the MitchDavisShow.com is going to try and join us here in just a couple of minutes and talk some more basketball. We're going to try to cram a lot in. But, Jimmy, you look out there at the landscape right now. I'd love to see TV ratings right now on college basketball. And we didn't have the tournaments. The conference tournaments last year ended abruptly on the first or second day, if they even started. And we never got a chance to see even the play-in games from Dayton, Ohio in the NCAA tournament. What do you think the ratings are going to look like this year for college basketball when all is said and done?
Well, again, just like everything else, it's uncharted waters. We didn't have an NCAA tournament last year. We've had a lot of uncertainty regarding the season this year. And I think we'll just have to wait and see. I think it'll do very well, though, because you'll have the tournament brackets again. And it's going to be, a very unpredictable from a standpoint of so many teams that have a shot of making the Final Four. And we're looking right now at Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State, as teams that are certainly favorites just because of just the seasons they've had, the fact that
yeah. Well, looking at this season's and the ratings and all like that, we did see. I'll give you an example with the Super Bowl. Of course, there's a lot of reasons why the NFL and the NBA are struggling, but the ratings for the Super Bowl between Tampa Bay 31 to 9, 13, whatever, over Kansas City were really low. Maybe 25 million people. Look, you get more than that for college football playoff games on TV. So that's why I'm asking about these numbers, Jimmy. It's going to be really interesting to see what they come out. But I think the college fans are a lot more loyal than the other fan bases out there. And I think that the colleges have done a very good job to focus on, hey, we're playing sports. When it comes to all that other stuff, I've always believed shut up and dribble, go score, go play. I don't want to hear about anything else. I want to watch sports. Sports is an escape from all the other craziness. Hall of Fame. You live in Atlanta. You remember when they brought it here? It was in South Bend, Indiana. We talked to some Notre Dame fans yesterday that had been when it was in South Bend, and the museum was nothing like this. It was a lot of old press clippings and newspapers that were yellowed over time, and there just wasn't a whole lot really that you could point to of it being a spectacular museum. And I think Gary Stokan, who was on with us yesterday, the former, he's not the former, he is the CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and president, the Kickoff Classic, Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. He's on the board of the Chick-fil-A, Kickoff Classic. I think he's on the board of the Chick-fil-A Foundation. And you start looking around at what Atlanta has done since they brought the Hall of Fame here. Are you pleased?
Absolutely. I remember when they were building it, there was a lot of anticipation because after they announced it was coming here, it took a while, like a year or two. And I think what they were doing was they were getting their corporate support together. And I heard that the building was paid for before they had the grand opening, so that the ticket sales would not have to satisfy their debt burden, which is a nice thing because a lot of museums can't change their exhibits because they're paying down their debt that it took to build the museum. So when they built this the right way so that the ticket sales just support ongoing operations, but not necessarily paying for the building itself. And as you can see, this is a beautiful location in downtown Atlanta. It's right next to State Farm Arena, right around the corner from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is a fantastic piece of property, and they did a great job with it. And it's not a normal museum where there's bronze busts everywhere. That's certainly okay, but this is more of an immersive experience. So I think it appeals to a younger generation of fans. There's a lot of computer technology here. There's a lot of exhibits that they can change every time you come in. And as you know, the tags that we had coming in yesterday were pegged for the fact that we went to Auburn. And every time we would walk past a display, it would bring up Auburn stuff, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it does. And it all comes up, whatever school. I mean, it's every school. And then there's the artwork in here on the wall when you come in, and then all the helmets up on the wall. It's incredible. But you give them your email address, you give them your information, your all access pass that hangs around your neck, your press credentials and whatever. Everywhere you go, it's your school. And you'll feel like, oh, the whole museum's about Miami or Memphis or Georgia, whatever. But hey, they make you feel very special. They're dialed in on you. Mitch Davis is on the line with us right now. Mitch, I know you're watching a lot of basketball. You have been watching a ton of basketball, and heartbreaking loss. But dadgummit, Memphis puts themselves in those situations. What are they? 15-7, 16-7 now, 11-4 in the league. Talk about that real quick, and then let's talk about what else is going on in college basketball. We've already covered the SEC, but there's a lot of basketball around the country. Everybody's getting fired up. Tournaments are already being played. SEC tournament, AAC, they're all about to kick off on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, Mitch, we want to hear what you think.
Whew. I tell you what, Rob, I think I texted you right after that Memphis game. I went from an all-time high when Danny Ball hit that hit shot to an all-time low when Houston drained the midcourt shot there. But you know what? That's March Madness. That's the beauty of it. Memphis played an excellent game. You cannot ask for a better game from Memphis. It happens. It's March Madness, baby. It's awesome. I just got done watching the Missouri Valley Championship game, and Loyola Chicago just won that game by 10 points. It's March Madness. Like, anything and everything can happen in March. And like Coach Cal says, like Kay says, like everybody says, nothing matters until March. Nothing. Throw out all of your records, throw out all the other stuff. Nothing matters until March.
Well, but you've got to be good enough to get selected to the tournament. So what you do during the regular season matters. But you're right. You can have 6 conference losses, but if you get on a hot streak in your conference tournament and that carries over into the NCAA tournament, you can go real far. Jimmy, he's talking about nothing matters. And again, I see what Coach K is saying. How can you argue with a man that's won 5 national championships? But look at this Arkansas basketball team under second-year coach Eric Musselman. They are hotter than fire right now. I think the reason they're doing so well is I can see it, and I want your thoughts. And then Mitch and Billy, they play as a team. They're selfless. There's no superstar on that team. There's a lot of talent, but one night it's one guy doing all the scoring, another night it's someone else. But they don't care who gets the credit as long as the Razorbacks get the W, don't they?
Well, yeah. They've found a combination with which has been a history that Musselman has created of blending in current players on the roster with transfers, and then we mentioned it on Friday. Their 6'10" post player, Jalen Williams, is really starting to come on for them, and I think that's really helped them. And when he was at Nevada, they had 5 transfers that went to the Sweet 16, lost a heartbreaker to Loyola, and he is just going to improve this program as time goes on, because when recruits see that you're successful, and Arkansas has a really good history over the last 4 45 years or so since Eddie Sutton came there and got things going, and then Nolan Richardson picked it up. And it's going to be an attractive place to go. They play up and down style of basketball, and they have not lost since January 30th. So yeah, he's really created an exciting atmosphere in Fayetteville. And of course, the same thing can be said at Alabama. Nate Oates in his second year has just done a tremendous job there, and I think you're starting to see this throughout the SEC, just with the caliber coaches they brought in and so forth. But yeah, that Memphis Houston game, not a work of art, but it was very competitive, very physical, very intense. You could tell from about halfway through the first half that the game was going to go down to the wire. And that's exactly what happened. And again, you're going to see a lot more of that, not only in the coming days during the conference tournament, but also once the NCAA tournament begins.
Mitch, look, you talk about this Arkansas team. They've won 11 conference games in a row. They were 3-4, not doing well, but I didn't hear anybody complaining, pointing fingers. And Jimmy talks about that great Razorback tradition. Absolutely. Eddie Sutton, great career there. And you remember the 17 years in Nolan Richardson. Then after that, it was people like Stan Heath and John Pelfrey, and just some coaches it just didn't have. Mike Anderson. Oh, let's recreate the 40 minutes of hell that Nolan Richardson was famous for at Arkansas. And now they go get Eric Musselman, comes in from Nevada. Great pedigree. Hunter Yurachek. That's just, this guy he's rolling, man. Baseball team at Arkansas ranked number 1 in the country. Arkansas is really doing well in recruiting, and that shouldn't surprise anybody with Sam Pittman. He was smart, like I've been saying all along, and Jimmy and all of us. He brought a bunch of coaches from the Deep South. Sam Pittman had been at Arkansas 13, 14, and 15. He's back there now. He wanted that job more than anybody in the country, and you can tell, and when he recruits, it comes through loud and clear. He absolutely loves the Arkansas job. Do you think the Razorbacks remind you? They do me of Auburn's team in 2019 that won 12 in a row after that 27-point loss at Kentucky. Bruce Pearl challenged that team's manhood. They went on a roll, won the SEC tournament championship. They stomped Tennessee, went on the heartbreaking loss to Virginia, but hey, should have shot better and it wouldn't have come down to that. But what do you think about Arkansas? And then we know Alabama is sitting there at 16-2.
I love it. I love the stock. I love Arkansas right now. I think I've said on here a couple of the shows before. I love Coach Muscle. I've covered him several times, covered him in his days at Nevada when they used to play in the NCAA tournament in Nashville and St. Louis and other places. Eric Musselman, Coach Musselman, is a darn good basketball coach. And I think it was Gordon that, him and I were talking once that hire went down. That hire was such a home run hire for Arkansas. We both said, give them 2 years, give them 3 years, and they'll have Arkansas back to the days of the 90s and Nolan and 40 minutes of hell. And that's exactly what he's got going on right now. But when you watch Arkansas basketball, you get excited. You get infatuated with their style of play. And if there's anybody that can beat Alabama in this conference, it's definitely Arkansas.
Yeah, and you look at, I saw a thing about in the month of February, Eric Musselman's Twitter account and all the stuff he's got going on, he's getting more action than any other coach in college football. Eric Musselman, the month of February, is like 65, 70,000 on the Twitter analytics, talking about the Arkansas fan base, just how rabid that they are. And it's just, it's incredible when you watch and take a look at what goes on with Arkansas, their fans, that Jimmy and guys, their fan base is unbelievable. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Arkansas. The Razorbacks, you cross that bridge from Memphis into Arkansas, their creed is, hey, one state, one team. That's how they look at it. And you know what? Right now, the Razorbacks, they've got just a heck of a team. They're playing great team basketball. Jimmy, I know yesterday, and Gordon, my apologies. Yesterday, we didn't realize when we got in, we were going to be lucky. I mean, that was great. We had Gary Stoken, the CEO and president of the Peach Bowl, on with us. So we went all football that last section, and always love having you on there. We've been doing this together since 1988 with Jeff Weinberger. And hey, we're back at the hall, but we're talking basketball. Got a shortened version today, but we're talking about those Razorbacks, how hot they are. But I want your thoughts on something. I said this right before you called in on the party line up there on the telephone pole that you're hanging off of. And that is this. Ole Miss is the most dangerous team, in my opinion, as they go into the SEC tournament, because they know they've got to have at a minimum 2 wins in the conference tournament to get an NCAA bid. And I like their chances because I love their coach, Kermit Davis Jr. You talk about that, Gordo. Gordon, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
I thought
yeah.
you went to Jimmy.
No.
I think they are I think they're very dangerous. But, they had some strange stuff happen this week I don't think a lot of people know about. They had Kadeem C. quit the team. Decencio Vaughn quit. I mean, these guys are seniors, and they're playing their last game. They also had this kid, Sean Robinson, who was a recruit who they signed him when he was like 16. He quit the team. So they had 3 players leave this week, which, I thought was very unusual.
Yeah.
But anyway, as far as getting into the tournament, yeah, they'll play South Carolina, which they should be. And, you don't know what LSU team you're going to get in that second round. And I'm not going to say that they don't have a shot at beating them because they can guard people. But LSU, when they turn it on, man, you can't stop them. They're offensively very, very good.
Yeah, they are. And Jimmy, I mentioned to you, and guys, Jimmy Ott from down in Baton Rouge, ESPN 104.5, does a daily show, covers LSU for us. Really, really, really knows what's going on. Talked about the mess going on at LSU. He doesn't think that LSU will do much. They may win a game in the tournament if they do that, but doesn't really feel confident beyond that. What are your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, I don't know. The fact that they were able to go to Como yesterday and get it done at Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people do that, and that's against a team that prides itself on hard, physical, intense defense, and LSU was able to, beat them more or less at their own game. Now, with that being said, I mean, Missouri obviously is not the most explosive offensive team you're going to find, and if they obviously can't get into an up and down game against LSU. But the thing about it is that LSU was, able to obviously keep their composure, play disciplined basketball. You can't make mistakes against Missouri, and again, it was a very surprising win to me because we all know LSU has not been good on the road at all this year, especially defensively. But for a win like them to get a win like that, that gives them a big boost. But as far as their long-term prospects, yeah, defensively they're just not good enough. But as Gordon said, you've got to be concerned about any team you draw in the tournament that has players that can put the ball through the hoop, like Thomas, Smart, and Watford. I mean, they're really dangerous on that.
Oh, they can score.
Yeah. I mean, Gordon
But Rob, you're talking about Ole Miss being a dangerous team, and I know everybody's saying this, and so I may just throw it in there too. Yesterday, you saw a Kentucky team explode when they let Mintz, shoot the ball. And, Calipari has this little patterned offense that he likes to use, but sometimes coaches need to get away from that. And I'll give you an example that happened back in the 80s, and Jimmy will jump all over this. Don DeVoe was a coach at Tennessee, and, they kind of ran the motion offense, all that, but when it got down to when he recruited some players that really couldn't play, he had a guy named Tony White. I know you remember him, Jimmy. And he let that guy go and score like 25 points a game. And I mean, they won a lot of games at the end of the season once he kind of went away from the stuff. And I think if Calipari does that and he lets Mintz shoot the ball, I think they could do some damage in this tournament.
Jimmy, Jimmy, here's another one in Gordon. What about Dale Ellis back in 83? Another one.
Oh,
Don,
yeah.
You remember that Don DeVoe team? I guess it was in the first half of the 81-82 season. Tennessee was sitting there 9-0 in the first half, and then the second half it fell apart. But Don DeVoe was a really good basketball coach, Jimmy, and it's hard. Tennessee's had some great ones up there, but I mean, right now you've got Rick Barnes brings in the talent, but for a lot of reasons, they're just not winning. They've underperformed for 3 straight years now.
Yeah, when you talk about Don DeVoe, I mean, he was just an excellent tactician. In a way, I called him really the early version of Tubby Smith. Those guys were outstanding coaches, but they wanted nothing to do with recruiting. They hated it. They hated kissing butts of pampered teenagers who had been just coddled
from Kentucky. So
yes.
A lot of guys.
Yes. I mean, they wanted nothing to do with wanting to baby these coddled players who, from the time they'd been identified as probable Division I players from the 7th grade on, by the time that he would and his staff would start recruiting those players. And nowadays, lots of times the head coach has to seal the deal. Tubby and DeVoe wanted nothing to do with it. They were going to basically just give them the message, hey, this is how we roll. This is our culture. You're going to have every chance to be a successful player here. We have a tradition of success, but just because you've gotten all these press clippings all through high school, that doesn't mean you're going to be a starter from the day you walk on the floor.
Yeah.
And those two guys just wanted to coach their team and kind of, just be done with it. Whereas, especially at Kentucky, those fans want their coach to love recruiting, or at least if they don't love it, at least go at it 100%, because a lot of fan bases are different. Personally, there's some fan bases that would rather have 4-star players that they know are going to be there at least 3 years, and that way you can develop a cohesive program. You're going to have who you're going to be working with for at least 3 years, and teams like that have a really good chance to make long runs in the tournament, as opposed to year to year you have 3 or 4 new freshmen come in, and then you got to start over again. Now, in Kentucky's case, for the most part, it's worked. I mean, even when they struggled during the regular season for several years, they would catch fire right before the SEC tournament and carry it on. But as Mitch has mentioned, they have not been to the Final Four since 2015. So there's 2 sides of that coin, and right now, for the first time in Cal's 12 seasons, this crop of players, of freshmen, has not delivered like previous groups have. But I agree with Gordon. You've got to let Mint shoot the ball. I mean, when you do, you get a result like you did at Tennessee 3 weeks ago when he hit 4 or 5 threes in the first 10, 12 minutes of the game. And they just rode that start to an easy win. So, you got
to let a good player go when not everybody else is up to his standards. And I think if you let him get in that tournament, shoot the ball, let everybody else do with their stuff, I mean, strange things can happen. But I'm going to tell you, he's that type of player.
You know what, though? You're talking about a team that doesn't have anybody stepping up and taking control, and that is Tennessee. We had Trey Wallace on the show last Saturday, who covers Tennessee. Really, really good job. He's incredible. Last 3 years. And he said the same thing. There's nobody on that team that steps up. Everybody's like, well, you go first. Or, it's like holding the door open for someone and they're going, no, you go first. You go first. Somebody make a damn decision. And they're not doing it. And if you don't have, at this point in the season, you don't have a chance to go anywhere in the conference or the NCAA tournament if your alpha males hadn't stepped up and taken control. Let me say something real quick about one of our sponsors. We'll be right back. Red River Ford Toyota. They're not open today over in Wynne, Arkansas, but they will be Monday morning, Monday through Saturday. And that is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Wynne, Arkansas. Check them out on our website, redriverfordtoyota.com. Justin Wynn, the general manager, is on with us all the time. Rusty Howard, the sales manager. John Dobbs Jr. from Memphis, the Dobbs family. They're known far and wide in the car and truck business for a long time. He's part of the ownership group, Red River Auto Group. That is Wynne, Arkansas, Red River Ford Toyota. Check them out. Walk there if you have to. It's worth it. You will be glad because they make great deals with you on your cars and trucks, and they back up the service, and the commitment just starts once the sale is done. Hey, Gordon, I know Mitch had to get off right now. He's got to go to a press conference on Zoom, but this is fun. Look, we didn't realize that the College Hall of Fame closes promptly at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, so we've got to be off at about 51 after or something like that, so we can make an escape and get this up on the podcast. But let me throw this one to you, Gordon. Again, I like Ole Miss, but those guys quitting like that, I mean, you know a lot about what goes on. You know what you can say and can't say. And by the way, guys, you know, there's things called oxymorons that we learned about in grammar. You know, that's clear as mud. Well, okay, how about this one? Someone says, you know, privately, someone's told me this, and they're saying it on Sidelines.live or on a TV show. That one's I've never really understood that one. You know, privately and off the record. Off the record, I know this from being a television reporter, means off the record. And you will never get another story in your life if you violate that code. There's certain things called honor. You screw people over, you screw enough people over. You know what, Jimmy, Gordon, you remember the great Greek mythology? Audrey told me about Icarus. He had the wings made of wax, and they said, Icarus, young man, don't fly too close to the sun. And he did, and his wings melted, and he fell to the earth. So anyway, man, that was a wild one right there. My head's spinning, but Gordon, I'm losing my mind. It's a short trip.
No,
Gordon,
I think those guys just saw the light. You know, the bottom line is, I was with a former Division I coach the other night at the Ole Miss Kentucky game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you who it is, but he talks to Cal, and he said Cal's probably going to fire a lot of people. That means they're going to get rid of some players that can't play. And you get some of these teams, and they get this time of year, it's spring break. So I guess it was just time for them to go. I mean, they weren't going to play much. 1, 2 weren't going to play at all. And sometimes you just, you know, maybe it's just the right time to do it, and that gives Ole Miss more scholarships.
Hey, this is Billy. I've got a question for you guys.
Probably not, but you know, it just happens.
Well, and I don't know, Gordon. My first thought, and this officially still has not passed yet, but this one-time transfer rule, where a player at a Division I program can leave and go to another one and be immediately eligible. That's a one-time opportunity. If that thing eventually gets passed, I know it's going to help the top football programs, but I'm going to tell you, the first thing I thought when I heard about that was as far as a program that would benefit the most from that would be Kentucky basketball. I mean, you know, they'd be jumping all over that if that comes into effect, you know. And well, that's how they got Mintz. They thought Sarr was going to be a really good player for him, but he really didn't provide a physical presence that they were looking for, you know, on a 6'11" guy, although he can shoot the lights out when he gets going. But if that thing ever passed, Kentucky could be doing this every year, literally, except now I do know. And Gordon, I wonder about what the legal aspects of this are. Now that in college football and basketball, these are 4-year scholarships again and not back-to-back. If a player is doing his work in the classroom, he maybe doesn't fit into the chemistry of your team, but he's giving the effort on the court every day in practice. And in games, are we getting into a danger area there of, getting rid of players who are fulfilling their obligations off and on the court from, a legal standpoint?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think that you've got a point there. I mean, the thing is, if they're doing their job, but the scholarships, correct me if I'm wrong, they're 1 year to 1 year. Am I right?
No, well, in football, it went to 4 years about 5 years ago. They went back to it. Now, I think it's the same in basketball. Maybe I was thinking, the revenue sports, being football, men's basketball, and women's. Well, in some cases, women's basketball. Now, baseball, it's a revenue sport in a couple of conferences. Everywhere else, not so. But that's a different deal altogether because you only have 11 and a half total scholarships to make a roster up with. So that's a little different. But that's my understanding. But you know what? On the basketball part, I'll check on that. But in football, it has been that
you
way
might
now
be
for
right.
about 5 years.
Yeah, Jimmy and Gordon on that. I believe, football. I think a football scholarship, if you're saying 4 years guaranteed, that's wrong. I mean, you cannot do that in the real world. You're not guaranteed. I've never had a salary except my 2 years as a TV reporter out of college. The rest of it's been all commission. It motivates you to get your butt out of bed. Everywhere I've ever worked in the parking lot, when we have a 6-inch or 10-inch, or like we've had here recently in Memphis in the Mid-South, 20 plus inches of snow, our parking lots were always full. We have clients all over the country. They don't give a flip if there's snow where we are or not. And also we know that, if we don't get up and go hunting, we don't eat. But Gordon or Jimmy, you made a good point about the legally binding part of a scholarship. If a guy were to come in there and be a one and done, let's not kid around. They go to school the first semester, and in January they register for classes, and they might show up on the first day to get the syllabus. And after that, they don't come back. I mean, that's a joke. That's an insult. Okay. What about them being, let me tell you something. The people writing this BS false narrative about name, image, and likeness under the guise of, these impoverished, poor athletes are just being taken advantage of. They're full of crap. Okay. They've got an agenda, and it's not in the best interest of the student athletes. It's about them making money. And I've said it a million times. You want to do this? I'm all for capital. I mean, capitalism is what makes America great. Socialism fails so badly, it doesn't work anywhere. But you know what? You've got to, they want to get paid. They're going to give them a sponsorship. Gordon, could you imagine, or Jimmy, when y'all were in college, if you were a football player and in today's dollars, 10, 15,000 a month, and you were a wide receiver or quarterback for your team, and you were getting 15,000 a month, what would it do to you? Would you be going to class? Would you be getting a little bit slack? And then what about that wide receiver going to the quarterback saying, "Hey, Gordo, man, here's 5,000, man. Make sure I get a lot of passes thrown my way." Gordon, you answer that first, and then Jimmy.
I think I would definitely make the money.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's say Jimmy's your wideout, and he says, "Hey, Gordo, man, throw it to Haji." What are you going to do?
Well, right now, I'm glad we don't have to deal with that issue.
Exactly.
It just seems like to me, again, everybody just needs to step back and take a bit longer of a look at what the possibilities are, because I think most of us don't feel that this is going to affect more than a few players. Like, for example, just over the last couple of years, Tua at Alabama, the year that Burrow had last year, Cam, if he, the season he had in 2010, if he had it this past season, guys like that. I don't think it's going to be widespread, but at the same time, you've got to be careful and hope that person that was benefiting from it does not mess up the chemistry in a locker room, because in football, the atmosphere and the fellowship and that locker room is absolutely critical to the success of the team.
Yeah, and then Lou Holtz said it, Jimmy and Gordy. Remember, if your football team's not united, locked in arms, when they're in the locker room and before they go out on the field, you cut your chances down 90% of winning. You got to all be rowing in the same direction, or you're going to get swamped. Go ahead, Gordon.
But in Ole Miss's case on this deal, those guys just got up and quit.
Yeah.
They just knew they weren't going to play. Now, Kentucky, I could see Cal getting rid of some people, or they transfer on their own after he encourages them. Mm-hmm. But, that type of stuff, Jimmy, happens.
Yeah.
It happened at Cal when he first got the Kentucky job. There were 5 or 6 players, Michael Porter, there's a couple others, and he basically just ran about 6 guys out of town that had done what I mentioned earlier. They had fulfilled their academic obligations. They never missed practice. They worked hard at practice, worked hard in games, but they just were not successful in relation to the past decades of Kentucky's success. And basically they just ran them out of town. And that's when they brought in Wall, Cousins, Bledsoe, and that's what they did. And I know at a lot of other places, even high success programs, they would not have done that. Once they offered them a scholarship, even if they panned out, there have been a number of players I know for sure at Carolina and Duke that if they didn't live up to expectations, but they Roy gave them their word, and Coach K, they kept them around.
Yeah.
And now a lot of those guys would leave on their own because they wanted to play elsewhere. Yeah. But the ones that did stay, they kept them around.
Yeah. Hey guys, look, we're down to we got about a minute left, but we got to get off here because they're closing the building on us. That's why we have the shortened Sunday afternoon Sidelines.live wrap-up show. But Jimmy, you're right. And Gordon, I know you got one more thing to say, and then we got to close out.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I agree with you, man. I think at Kentucky, it was Patrick Patterson. They made him go pros. So they did get rid of all of Kennedy's.
Billy Clyde's guys.
Yeah. Billy Gillespie. Yeah. Hey, let's say this real quick, guys. Hey, Gordon, plan on this week, and Jimmy, and we'll get Mitch and Billy and all of us, do some several podcasts during the week on college basketball. We've got the tournaments and all coming up. So look, shortened version today. Check it out. It'll be up on the website at sidelines.live here shortly. Again, a lot to cover. Jimmy Hodge up in Chicago, thank you so much. Gordon Ford and Mitch Davis up in Memphis. Producer Audrey standing here with me. My roommate Billy Roberts. We're at the College Hall of Fame in Atlanta. But look, we got a lot to cover. And again, to all of our sponsors, thank you so much. Commercials will be running here with the show. And again, we'll be back up on a Monday night podcast, probably around 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Again, a lot to cover, and we're here for you. We're going to be the #1 source in the country. And follow us at Sidelines_live on Twitter, Sidelines.live, the website. And we're, of course, on the Apple podcast platform, Stitcher, Spotify, all the social media platforms. And again, don't quit because you're tired and lazy and you didn't try. Quit because you're done and you want more. We're out of here. See you tomorrow. Okay. Hey, guys. Hey, Gordon. Gordo. Okay. I think he's off here. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey.
Yeah. So we got to, I'll call you when we get out of here. I didn't realize that they shut it at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock Central